She's an award-winning writer, a hunting guide, archery and rifle instructor, keynote speaker, and all-around outdoors woman who encourages you to get outside, hunt, fish, shoot, and savor all that life has to offer. And now, here's your host, Mia Anstein.
Well, hey, hi, hello. It's so great to be visiting with you again. Welcome to the Mac Outdoors podcast. If it is your first time here, I'm happy that you stopped by and I hope you enjoy this show. And for those of you that may be listening that have been here before, I sure do appreciate you and welcome back. Today I have a wonderful interview with Derek Wolfe, who some of you may know and some of you may not, but you're going to learn a lot about him. I'll give you a brief little introduction. He is a pro football player, actually a Super Bowl champ from the Denver Broncos and played for other teams as well. He will give us some more insight into that. But here recently, he's renowned because he was on a mountain lion hunt in Colorado and shared that cat on social media. And of course, it caused a stir. So today we're going to be talking about conservation, about hunting, why you would hunt a cougar, and also just some great things that Derek has going on and that are coming up, and also his life journey and how he hopes to help others through struggles. Through this, I will attach some links in the show notes, and if you have any questions or would like to comment about the episode, please do so. You can find Mac Outdoors on Instagram and Facebook, or you can comment to Mia Anstein. I am on most social media outlets. Just look for my name. Or you can send an email. The email address is contact@miaanstein.com. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show.
This winter, stay warm from head to toe with WSI Sports' heater gear layers. Use Leah's affiliate code, LLCO10, at WSISports.com and get 10% off your order. All products are proudly made in the USA. WSI Sports is bringing back pride in American-made clothing. That code once again, LLCO10 for 10% off at WSISports.com.
Well, hello, Derek. Welcome to the Mac Outdoors podcast. I'm happy to have you on the show. And today I wanted you to hopefully share some news and education with my listeners. So first of all, could you just introduce yourself and let us know what you're up to these days?
Yeah, so Derek Wolfe. I played 10 years in the NFL on the defensive line, 8 years with the Broncos. I won a Super Bowl there, Super Bowl 50. And then I went to Baltimore for 2 years, and then I retired after the 2021 season. I grew up hunting in Northeast Ohio. I'm from Ohio originally, so I grew up hunting whitetail. I shot my first whitetail with a bow I was just right about to turn 13. I was like eighth grade, end of eighth grade year, getting ready to be a freshman. So after that, it was like I was hooked. I was hooked on it. It was so much fun. And then same with turkey hunting. I love turkey hunting too. So then it kind of took a back seat to football because the fall is eaten up, like the September is eaten up by football. There's no time to do anything else. So, but in Ohio, like we would still find time to get it done in high school. But then when I went to college, it was kind of over. I didn't have time to do it. It just wasn't going to happen. So really hunting took a back seat for about 15 years.
And so hunting took a back seat, but you also focused on a career that was
Exactly.
An amazing career. So do you want to tell us a little bit about, did you just grow up and you were a phenomenal athlete, or what kind of work did you put into becoming a pro football player?
Yeah, so I decided when I was like 7 years old, actually, that this is what I wanted to do, was play football. I was like, I want to play football. I don't want to do anything else. Everything I do is going to be focused towards that. So I had a rough childhood. My mom she abused alcohol and some drugs and stuff like that. So she just kind of was not around. She was not available basically to be a mother. And then I don't know my real dad. So my stepdad was abusive as well. So then whenever I was 11, they split, and I stayed with him on and off here and there. Like it was like I would just stay with a friend, and sometimes I'd be with him, sometimes I'd be with a friend, back and forth, jumping around couch to couch. And then finally, when I was like 14, I moved in with a family that kind of took me in. on a Black Angus ranch. And then it was, they taught me how to work hard. That's where I learned how to work hard. They had, we got to hunt and we got to do all that stuff there. So it was a good experience for me. And then I went to college and it was like all fun. I was on my own, like doing my own thing from there. And then in 2012, I got drafted by the Broncos, 36th pick overall. I was their first pick. And then came in here and won the starting job right away. And it was just like, once I got drafted, I knew that's when the real work was going to start. So I just made sure that I focused all my energy on training, and I would do some hunts here and there in the off season on, go hunt exotics and stuff like that. And just like the ones you could get in, I'd sneak back to Ohio during a bye week and do a deer hunt, stuff like that, turkey hunts in the spring. But for the most part, it was just like here and there. I didn't get to focus much energy on it. And then finally, when I went to Baltimore, the last 2 years in Baltimore were great because there's a ton of whitetail hunting that goes on in Baltimore. So, and then it was COVID. So we were doing all our meetings virtually. So I was doing a lot of my meetings from the tree saddle.
Yeah. And so you were able to find more time during the pandemic and shutdowns and all of that, which I think a lot of us found there was more time. And so did it give you kind of a renewed passion for hunting, or was it always kind of just there like an ember burning and just waiting to be revived?
Yeah, it was always there. But like when I actually because what happened was I rented the house I was renting while I was there was on 70 acres. And I could just go right out the back, off the back porch and walk down through the woods into my stand, so it was easy. So that's what I was doing, and it revived it, and it brought it right back. And it was like, oh yeah, I remember how much I love this, and then when I finally was able to get my first fall, which was last fall, my spring and fall really. So I did a ton of turkey hunting, did my first bear hunt, and my first elk, my first mule deer. And I did all that stuff with my bow, and it was just like, I fell back in love with it. And now it's like it reignited that passion. It's been a great transition for me from the NFL because, and I have a really tight bond with veterans because we work in these high adrenaline job, like our jobs are high adrenaline, right? So you have these huge adrenaline dumps, and then they go right back up and then back down and back up and back down. And then whenever it's gone, you don't have it. So the only way I could like manage it is really elk hunting. Bow hunting elk is like, it does it for me.
Yeah. Is that your favorite thing to hunt?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like, so people ask me that all the time, and I always tell them I love to hunt whatever's in season. But if I have to pick a favorite, it's bull elk during the rut. So archery hunting is
nothing like
a passion. It. Yeah. Do you do most of your hunting with a bow?
Yeah.
And so before you get too much further, I'm going to have to just ask you about the Cougar, because that's the big rage right now is people that are upset about a mountain lion. And tell us about how you experienced the uproar, and you can even tell us about the hunt if you would like. And if you want to start there and let us know about the hunt and then how you've experienced the backlash on social media.
Yeah, and before I get started, I think what happens is people think they have like an emotional attachment to bears and dogs and cats. So it's like they're not thinking rationally. They're not thinking. They don't care about the science behind it. They don't want to hear any of that. They just want to hear. They just see that there's a lion and you shot it, and now they're mad. They don't really want to look at the science. They don't want to look at they don't want to look at how the mountain lion population in North America is the only big cat in the world that is on the rise. And that's due to the conservation efforts and the North American model that we have. It's the gold standard, and it's working, and we have proof of it working. Right. And that's why, like, I'm actually getting ready to get involved with the Wolf Project here because I think what's happening is there's a full on attack against hunters. And they just want to take away our rights or our privileges as hunting. Hunting is a privilege, and they're trying to take that away from us. And reintroducing wolves will create a 30-year drought with elk and deer. That's what that'll do, and that will eliminate so much. That's just like part of their plan, right? They have a long-term plan. They have a lot of money behind them, and I'm ready for the fight. I'm not going to back down from it. And my goal is to unite hunters. Like that's a problem. There's a lot of infighting with the hunters. There's a lot of, if you're a rifle hunter, you're a bow hunter, well, then it's like within bow hunting, there's the compound, traditional, and crossbow. and they are all infighting and trying to fight for attention. It's like, hey, we need to come together, or else we're all going to lose.
Right. And that's the thing too, is you talked about being raised on a Black Angus ranch. I mean, we have cattle here. And I'm on the Sportsman's Roundtable here in Colorado. I'm part of the Governor's Outdoor Partnership Program. And I'm also on the Colorado Cattlemen's Wildlife Committee. I'm a vice chair there. But what I've tried to do in being on the cattlemen's and that is to bring that together as well, because it's affecting the agriculture also, which the wolves is now that has me even in a larger panic. And I just have a couple past episodes about the wolves and in Idaho and experiences there that really, just thinking about it right now, like makes my blood pressure rise, because it's not going to be pretty. So I'm happy to hear that you're kind of going to get engaged with that fight. What does that look like? What are you working on?
So I'm working with a friend of mine. His name's Don Pay. He's, Ted Nugent's involved as well. There's a bunch, Hunter Nation is involved. So it's basically what we're doing is raising money through legislation to try to prove to them why this is a bad idea and show them what it's going to do you're eliminating so many jobs, people's livelihoods. You ran an outfitter, what is a wolf? You reintroduce wolves. What does that do to your elk population? That's 1,500 elk hunts maybe that you don't get to do. It's your whole livelihood.
Yeah. And outfitters already, I know some that are planning to sell their businesses already. They want to sell while the getting is good, because they see what's coming. And so that's, like you said, jobs, the economy, not to mention the wildlife and the habitat. Those are all going to suffer. With Hunter Nation and with these others that you're working with, would we be able to reach out to you or somebody from Hunter Nation to bring you to the Capitol when we're working on things or stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm going, actually, I'm going to the Western Hunt Expo, and as soon as I land, I'm getting picked up and going straight to the Capitol building to talk about getting some funding to help stop this, because it's a war. It's going to be a war.
Yeah. And that's something, though, everybody wants to stop it, but we already have the wolves. Don Gittleson's already lost some from the wolves that are already here. And if we can slow down the train, I mean, this introduction right now, they're accepting comments about the wolf plans to manage. And if we could get people to comment on that as well, to let them know that we already have wolves, we need a management plan, because right now, Gittleson's he's been compensated for a couple of his losses, but there's others that we don't know if he'll get compensation for. Kenny Klinglesmith, that's a very complicated issue, and I don't know that there will be any compensation for him as well. But in that plan, you were on a Black Angus ranch. I raise Corriente, we raise roping stock for rodeos, and so there are different price brackets there. But if you lost some Black Angus cows, the price is going to be insane if you lose at least more than one or two. And right now, that compensation plan doesn't provide enough compensation to cover those losses in a year. So we definitely need comments on that. And I'm getting on a side tangent with you, because I could go all day long about wolves, but I'm happy that you're engaged in that and that you're going to be doing some things.
Yeah, it's important. It's important to me. So, but yeah, back to the lion hunt. So the way it went down is my friend Alex Nestor, who he runs. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he runs dogs here. He's a friend of mine. This wasn't like I went out and looked for an outfitter and went lion hunting, right? It was my buddy called me. We had a fresh snow. He said, "Hey, tomorrow is going to be a good morning. You want to go out and try to cut some tracks?" I said, "Let's do it." He's like, "Bring your bow and let's do it. Let's get after him." I said, "All right, let's go." He's like, "I know of an area that there's a couple big ones running around. I haven't seen them, but I've from word of mouth that they've seen some big tracks out there in this area." So we decided, let's go check that. So first light, we go out and start looking, and we found a couple smaller ones, like sub-adult males, and I think a female and a couple kittens that we saw. And then we see these huge tracks, and it's like, oh, okay, here we go. So we get out, take a look, look up under this tree, and he's got a full-grown mule deer, fresh killed, right up under this tree, right across the street from this guy's house. So we're like, well, let's go. The tracks lead right up to his house. So we follow those tracks to go up to the front porch. He's living under the porch. He's got a bed under there. You could see that he's denned up under this guy's deck. And we're like, wow, this is a big cat. You know, you could see how big the tracks were. So, you know, it's a giant, you know? And so we knock on the door, no answer. There's like 2 cabins right next to each other right there. Knocked on the other one, no answer, but there was a truck in the driveway. So we assumed, you know, somebody's here. So we leave, and obviously we're not going to go cut tracks on somebody's private property without permission. So we start calling all the neighbors, using online maps and stuff to figure out what the landowner's name are, then Google them, and then you find their phone number. And then, so 2 hours of this, right? And in those 2 hours, we just kept hearing story after story of, you know, we get all this one woman, she's like, there's a bunch of them around here. They're terrorizing my dogs. They're, you know, they were telling me stories about last year, how a couple dogs got taken down. She was telling us how he's walking up around her porch, and we don't know if it's that one, you know, it could be other ones, but the fact that they're so brazen to just go ahead and walk up on somebody's porch and look in their windows and stalk their small animals and their pets, it's like, okay, and maybe we got us a good one here. Maybe one we could take care of. So finally, after 2 hours of doing this, talking to people, we end up driving back down to get on those tracks again, just to kind of see if he came back out or not. And here comes the guy that we were knocking on his door. He comes out and he's like, "You guys see these cat tracks?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "It's a giant." He's like, "I think he was up walking around on my porch." And I was like, "Well, his tracks led up by your porch." I said, "But that was us coming up there to try to knock on the door." He's like, "Oh, I was afraid to even come answer it because I thought it was the lion."
Wow.
So that's why he didn't come out. And then he was like, you guys are lion hunters, right?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, go ahead, go get him, please. He's terrorizing my cats and dogs." And I was like, "All right." So here we go. We went after it, and it was, I'm telling you, one of the hardest hunts I've ever been on physically. Definitely the hardest hunt I've ever been on physically, because it was straight up and down, 3 feet of snow, rocky cliffs, like 1,500 to 2,000 feet vertically, just straight up. And then we were hoping that they would get this lion treed up around there, because we could see that we saw right where he went. The tracks are fresh, you know. But no, he didn't get treed up there. We went all the way back down the other side, way up through a drainage, another 1.5 miles up through a drainage of just blow down and 2-3 feet of snow, like I said, and then straight back up and straight back down the other side and onto the road, and followed the road up, and then went straight back up again. And at that point, I was in a full body cramp. So my legs were, my hamstrings and quads and my ribs were locking up on me, and my forearms, because I was sweating bad. You know, I was just crawling the whole way because I couldn't walk. It was so slick. You know, when you're walking on a hill that's like this, you're just crawling. You can slide. Every time you crawl, you slide back another 2 feet. So there's no side hilling. You can't side hill. You just have to go straight up.
You get super tired doing that too, because you've made it up that far. You're on an incline. You're trying to hold on to that and not lose traction and end up at the bottom of the hill. And I've had people ask about what's the most challenging hunt, and bar none, mountain lion hunting is the most challenging hunt I've ever been on. Yeah, I've been on 1 or 2 that were pretty easy, but you're having to go where those dogs go. And I will say that I saw in someone's video of you and this mountain lion hunt that they commented like, "Well, if you found him under the porch, why did it end up this blah, blah, blah?" But they're wild animals. They're not pets. It's not going to sit there and wait for you.
He didn't wait. Yeah, he took off. We didn't see him laying under there. We could just see that he had a den under there.
Yeah.
And when we let the dogs out, where do you think they went first? Right under that porch where the scent was the strongest, because that's where he had been laying and sleeping.
Yeah. And people think that if you hunt with dogs, it makes it easy, and it doesn't make it easy at all. It helps. It makes it easier, but it's still the most challenging hunt I've been on.
And the most important part about having hounds is that when you have that lion treed, then you can make an identification. Then you could see, okay, is this a male? How big is this male? How old do we think this male is? Is it, because that's the thing, you don't want to go and just shoot like a sub-adult male, right? You don't want to shoot a female. You don't want to shoot a female with kittens. You know, that's important for their population to keep those ones alive. And these big toms, they'll kill indiscriminately. They'll kill the kittens to get those females to go back in the heat. Right. So this is, everything we did was great for the conservation and for the population of these lions. So for people to be upset about it is just silly.
Right.
They're not thinking rationally. So finally, and people, here's the other thing, the altitude that we were at, you know, we went from 8,000 to 11,000, 9,000 to 11,000. And finally at 9,600 is where we had him treed. And that's where I finally, there's videos online of me trying to, if you check my Instagram, it's Derek Wolfe _95. And then you can also see it on my YouTube channel, which is Wolfe Untamed. But you can see where I'm trying to get up. I'm trying to get to him. And I'm like right underneath the tree where the lion is. And he's like, hurry up, get out of there. He could break that limb anytime and land right on you. So I'm like, I'm just doing everything I can to try to get up there. And I got up there and I was able to lock in and make a really good shot. And he landed, he hit the ground and rolled like 10 yards and was done.
Awesome.
And that was that. And then the really hard work started.
Right.
Yeah. So we got that cat, we got that lion cleaned out, and I put him in I have a kafaru pack, and he just kind of laid him across sideways. So head out one end and tail and legs out the other, and tail and hind legs out the other. And it was heavy. I didn't know I knew this was a big lion. I didn't realize he was going to be, he was 173 pounds.
I was just going to ask how much it weighed, because when I saw the picture of you and your cat, I was like, that is a huge mountain lion, because like I have a picture of me with my mountain lion, but I'm 5'2". And I'm like, you're what, 6'5"? But how tall are you?
I'm 6'5", almost 6'6", and I'm 280 pounds.
Yeah. And so that cat, in comparison to you, that is a huge cat. I mean, that was a nice mature male and a great cat to take out.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're looking for when you go out. Mm-hmm. That's what you want, right? And that's why the dogs are so important, because if you just go out and look for any lion, right? And you're just, first of all, doing that with a bow, good luck.
Right.
Just good luck doing that, right? Good luck getting a good shot off even, It's, I'd rather make a good ethical kill than have an animal suffer. That's like the worst thing ever, is watching an animal suffer, because that's what happens with bow kills sometimes. You have to take a really good shot. It's important.
Right. And with the dogs, it also gives you the time to have them in the tree. You can assess, as you said, male, female. And if you decided, I actually had a friend, she's a biologist, and she passed up, I want to say at least 10 cougars when she was hunting, because she really wanted a big cat, and she did get a nice one like you have. But she was able to say no, and being a biologist, she was documenting and doing some studies at the same time. But you can call the dogs back and you leash them back up and you go back to your truck and you're on your way. And that's something I think that you don't always have that opportunity if you're just out hoping to come across a cougar on your path.
Yeah, well, they're going to know you're there long before you see them. Right. You're in their territory. So that's just the way it is. And they have the vantage point because they got the height. They get up in a tree and watch you, and they can, sit up on cliffs and watch you, and they blend in really well. So like I said, we get the cat loaded up in the pack, and I'm just wrecked. I'm exhausted. Like every ounce of energy I have is gone. So I crawled backwards down this mountain.
For the love of the outdoors, open spaces, and mountains, shop www.mia.limited/1. The Mac Outdoors Mountains Are Calling series of apparel is perfect for you or your loved ones. Support the channel and shop now. www.mia.limited/1.
On my hands and knees, I was just crawling backwards with that lion on my back, and my bow strapped in. And I get down like 100 yards, and there's a rock face that I have to get across. And it drops down about 10 feet. So I got to get across this rock face, come around this way, and slide down to get down there, because I kind of went the wrong way. So obviously I can't see where I'm going because I'm going backwards, and I'm just trying to get down. And I'm getting all banged up and ripped. My pants are all ripped. My jacket's all ripped because I'm just ripping across these rocks. Well, I get up and I try to I take one step across this rock face and slip. My feet come right out from under me. I land on my back and I slide off of this rock face. Like I said, it was about a 10-foot drop. And I just crossed my arms like this and boom, landed right on my butt in the snow, and I was fine. But it was like, oh, that could have been bad.
Yeah, that could have been much worse.
I could have gotten impaled by something, or, there's deadfall everywhere. So, and then I had to repack the lion in there on this, and like I said, straight up and down. So like repacking on that face was not easy. So I repacked them in there, put the pack back on, rolled over, and just kept it going. And it took me about an hour to get down, and it was only was like 600 yards to get from where we needed to get to.
Yeah. Isn't that incredible that it can be so close yet so far?
Oh, it was awful. It was awful. And I finally get down there and I stand up and I put it back on the tailgate, and then I would just lay down in the snow for a while, just and drank some water and got some calories in me, because I was just wrecked. And I was tired for about 2-3 days after that.
Yeah.
And then we called CPW, got in, did everything by the book, and got the meat processed, and now we're eating them.
And so that's something that people also don't understand, is that before you can hunt a mountain lion, you actually have to take a cougar hunting course online. You have to get certified to be able to pursue a cat. You have to check the morning before you go hunting, make sure that there are still cats in the quota. And so you can't just kill every cat you see. There are a lot of rules, and I'll put links in the show notes to that section on Colorado Parks and Wildlife's website in case you're interested in learning more about how you hunt cougars in Colorado. Talking about you had an adrenaline dump there, which I've had many times when I'm out hunting. How would you compare that adrenaline dump into comparison to some of your Super Bowl win? Like, is it a more intense, a different type of intensity?
It's different, because it's different, but I would have to say, so like my first bull elk, right? Nothing compared. Like nothing I've done in football. And I'm talking, when my last name is Wolfe. So here in Denver, when I would make a play, we'd have 80,000 people howling. They would just howl. So there's nothing to replace that is almost impossible, because that is like the craziest kind of drug you've ever had, to feel that adrenaline. But the bull elk ripping bugles coming in and just rattling your chest, and then, going to full draw on them. It's like the laser focus that you have to be able to have in that moment. Football has made it so it's easy for me to do, because when it's so loud in the stadium that it's so loud that you're just vibrating. You can't hear anything. It's just a vibration, and being able to stay in that moment and block all that out, and just I call it the zone. You get into that zone. And it's like this, that's what I do. And that's how I handle my hunts too. I just lock in, get into the zone, make a good shot. Don't panic, and just let's make it happen. That's why I don't get fired up until a little bit. It's people, my reactions are always weird, because I'm still locked in. And then once I come out of that zone, then I crash. My legs get all shaky. I'm I got to sit down for a little while, because it's an intense rush. And with that mountain lion was intense, because whenever you shoot them and they come out of the tree, you don't know where he's going to go. Right. And you're just did I make a good shot? And luckily I was reassured by Nestor behind me. He was hey, great shot, perfect shot, put it right where it needed to be.
Yeah, and you don't want that cat coming after you. You don't want it coming after the dogs. You don't want it coming after Nestor. So there's a lot to worry about in that type of a scramble that possibly could have happened. When we're talking about sports and hunting, with Jim Zumbo years ago, we sat in a round table at a media event, and he posed the question, how is it that we as hunters, we can look at a bull elk and we can be wow, what a magnificent animal, and it's gorgeous, and we admire it, because we do. Yet we can also go hunt it and we can shoot it. And he asked in this roundtable, if we as hunters could explain that. And part of my explanation has always been, you in sports were designed way back when in caveman days, because the youngsters would be doing athletics to try to prove they were, fit enough to go pursue wild game, possibly lions or bears, mammoths, whatever it would have been. But so that adrenaline is there, and sports is there because of hunting. And so what I'm curious about is you are reconnecting to primal instincts, which is what we do as hunters. And I was kind of looking around, and I saw your Wolf Untamed YouTube. And are you going to be starting a TV show? I also saw that you want to mentor other youngsters to try to kind of help them through their paths, because you've had quite a journey yourself. What are you going to be doing? What's your goal?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a couple things. So with my show itself, so season 1 from this last fall, which is it's just me hunting. I just went on my own to do all this stuff with a camera guy. We're going to put those hunts up, but that's just to get people fired up for season 2. Season 2 we're going to be doing a lot more hunts with different athletes. So different retired athletes, like Haloti Nada. Halodi's a big hunter. He was a defensive line. I don't know if you know Haloti, but he was a defensive lineman for the Ravens, Hall of Famer. Bo Jackson. And then also I want it to be called the Wolf's Warriors. So I'm going to take a lot of special forces guys and wounded veterans and go take them on hunts that they would never get to go on otherwise. And then I'm working with one of my sponsors, King's Camo. They have a sister company called Valhalla, the Valhalla Project. And the Valhalla Project is specifically designed for veterans. So wounded veterans, guys that are missing limbs and guys that have serious trauma, TBIs. And that's where we can relate, is on the TBI side of things, because as a defensive lineman, every single play was a headbutt, so it's the hunting. It helps you ground yourself, and it's so good for your mental just to be out and unplugged from all the stuff that goes on in life. It's just nice to go out and unplug for 4 or 5 days and just be out there and not have any cell phone service. And it's tough, and not everybody can do it, right? Like my wife is so supportive, and like she's willing to sacrifice and make sure she takes on such a heavy workload when I am gone. So it's really important to me that I get to do this, and she knows that. So she allows it to happen. So I just think that the show itself is going to be great. And then when it comes to these kids, what I want to do is I want to get kids that would never be even close. Like they did. That's the problem. We're not passing this down anymore, right? It's not being passed down. So if we could get kids from the city to just experience the outdoors, if you don't want to hunt, great, but at least get out there and experience it, and try it. And I think it's important for people to, like you said, that primal instinct. It's a calling. It calls me. It's like this. It's constantly like calling me. And when I get that calling, it's like I have to answer it, right? It's like, hey, you need to go out. And it's not about going out and killing. It's about going out and the journey that it takes to get to that moment, right? Like that, my first bull elk, I put 60 miles on my feet in 4.5 days, and finally was able to land one. And it was like the persistence that it takes and the determination. You can't quit. You just have to keep going. And one more ridge, right? Like if I go over this ridge, I hear a bugle over there, I'm going to go over there. But teaching kids how to do that is important to me. And I think that archery hunting is a great introduction for that.
I also know through a mutual friend who put me in touch with you and your assistants or your helpers, whoever scheduled this, said you may be coming down to the Four Corners area for an SCI banquet. Are you going to be down?
I'm not going to be at that one because I already had committed. I was going to do that and I actually double booked, but yeah. I will be at Western Hunt Expo, and then I will be speaking at the SCI down in Nashville.
Okay, I was going to ask if you were going to go to the convention.
Yeah, I'll be down there for that. My wife is going to come with me for that one.
Well, and why I asked about the Four Corners chapter is because they have a thing they call the Legacy Project. And the Legacy Project, they find youth in the community who aren't from hunting families or don't have the means to get out and go hunting. And they get them through hunter education. We do a range day, side and day hunting scenarios. And then Carter Parks and Wildlife gets them a hunting license, a mentor tag, and one of the local ranchers and a local outfitter, they provide a hunt for them. And then after that, a local processor helps them learn how to process the animal. So it takes them from A to Z. And what we've learned through that is like we take one youngster of the family, but they'll teach their siblings. And a couple of years ago, we had one of the youngsters actually taught his mother how to hunt. Now she's a hunter. So it's kind of like planting little seeds. And I'm sure that's what you're going to end up doing. But that's why I was curious about the Four Corners chapter. And with your stuff that you're working on, if you work like with the Denver chapter of SCI, they can help you maybe with grants or funding or manpower in some of that. And there's also a Colorado chapter that maybe would be more in your area. I don't know exactly where you live, but they also are resources that can help you with funding if you need grants for, the veteran stuff and things like that.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, I'm going to check those out for sure. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about it. It's a big passion of mine.
Yeah. And so what you're doing basically, and I think you even said it on one of your videos, is that you want to change other people's lives. And I just think that's something that should totally be commended. And for anyone listening, go back and listen to my past episode of my mountain lion hunt. It basically is almost verbatim of yours. I mean, trudging up the cliffs and down the cliffs, waist deep snow and all of that. But you can learn a lot from mountain lion hunting and that work reward process. Some people are like, why would you do that if it's so hard? But you work hard and then you have that reward, and it's something that you can't trade for anything else. I mean,
No,
we can't
really
all be
can't.
pro football players. So
Right. And that's where I learned that hard work, right? Because that's how football is, right? Yeah. Hard work will beat talent every time when talent doesn't want to work. And that is so true in the outdoors. When you're bow hunting or any kind of hunting, really, if you just outwork the opponent, and your opponent is not the animal. Your opponent is the mountain. Your opponent is other hunters. Your opponent is, hikers and stuff like that. You have to outsmart all those people before you even think about outsmarting the game that you're after. So it's about working smarter. And then there's going to become a time when you're out there and you have to be like, all right, I just got to push through this, and it will be worth it. Sometimes it's not, though. That's why you have to be, sometimes you fail way more than you succeed in hunting. That's why it's such good learning for life, to prepare you for life, because you're going to fail over and over and over again. And how persistent can you be? Because that's life. Life is not designed to be easy. It's hard. So you got to just grind it out, just keep working. And especially in this day and age when nobody really wants to work. Everybody wants things right now. They don't want to work for it. They don't want to wait for it. I think that's a better time than ever for people to get into it and learn how to work hard.
And it's a great way to connect to nature, reduce stress. It's overall, you'll just live a lot more healthy life. If you are wanting something a little more instantaneous, and I won't say it's always 100%, but you can go look for guided hunts. In Texas, they do a lot of high fence stuff. Yeah. And those animals are actually bred for what you're doing. So it's kind of a management as well, because in Texas, they have biologists that monitor how many whitetail are on one of those ranches, and they need to have healthy habitats. And it's kind of a micro organism there where you're seeing the conservation on the field, and you can learn so much because it's contained in smaller areas. So you can see if you have too many aoudad, how they're destroying the habitat for the other animals and that kind of thing. But that's something that you can look for. You still do have that opportunity to fail, because if you don't make a good shot, you're not going to be successful that way. You still do have to work and you have to try. So it's more on a microcosm than hunting at 11,000 feet in Colorado on your own.
Yeah, it's a good introduction. It's a great introduction to hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, we would go out and sit hours and hours and hours and not see a single deer, and then when the time finally comes, it's like, your adrenaline, your heart's just pounding out of your chest. So preparing yourself for that there's nothing to prepare. It's just like football, I always say, right? The only way to get into football shape is to play football. Well, the only way to get ready for hunting is to hunt and to be out there. Like I don't care how many times you practice on your target and how many times you shoot your target. The only way to get good at it is to go out there and try to put on a stock and try to make it happen. That's the only way that you're going to get good at it.
With this TV show, you said you'll be, and then season 2, is it all going to be on YouTube, or where are we going to be able to watch?
Right now, it's all going to be on YouTube. That's the goal. I think streaming is the way that this industry is moving. The Outdoor Channel wanted to work a little bit, and I was like, I kind of want to I don't want to give up the rights to any of my stuff. I want to keep those rights. I want to be able to put it on any outlet I want to, right, for my sponsors. And so I'm just building sponsorships and trying to build long-lasting partnerships. I don't want to be one of those. That's the other thing. I made my money in football, so I don't have to make a ton of money doing this. I would like for it to monetize for itself, make sure it pays for itself at least would be great. But at the end of the day, I want to work with companies that I like to work with and that believe in the same things I do. And it's not just about selling out and chasing the cash. It's about, let's create a partnership here. Let's work together. Let's grow together.
For my listeners, I hope they'll go check it out and go subscribe so that they can see the past episodes that are already up there and then the upcoming ones. And so that's on YouTube. It's Wolfe Untamed. Is that correct?
Yeah, Wolfe Untamed. We got three teasers on there right now with just little highlights and stuff of what's to come. I'm going to be on Joe Rogan's podcast on March 2nd. So we're going to release an episode, our first episode right before that. It'll probably be a turkey hunt. And then in August, I will start launching our episodes. I like the elk hunt is a really good one. And then 10-day period, I was able in 10 days in 3 different states. In September, I went from New Mexico elk and was successful there with my bow. And then I went up to Wyoming and was successful there on a mule deer, and then down to Sawash, and I was successful on another mule deer there. So in 10 days, we got 3 cool episodes out of that. So it's going to be pretty interesting.
Cool. It'll be interesting to follow. I'll be keeping an eye out for all of that.
I'm also launching a podcast as well.
Oh, okay.
The Wolf Untamed podcast, that we're going to run that through YouTube as well. So I'm going to be bringing on a bunch of different guests on there. Our first episode, we're going to do it right when we get back from the expo, and I'm going to have my buddy Alex on there, and probably and I don't know if you know who Scott Young is, but he's so Scott. I'm going to try to have Scott Young and Nestor both on there, and then I'll probably bring Ted. Ted will probably come to that. Ted Nugent will probably come to that one, and we'll do like a sit down and just talk about lion hunting and all hunting in general.
Cool. Well, that'd be another great one to check out. When you are at the SCI convention, you said you're going to be speaking there. Are you doing seminars, or are you speaking at one of the events?
One of the banquets, I think.
Okay.
They haven't given me the full schedule yet, so I don't know exactly where I'm speaking, but I like the public. I like doing it, so I don't get nervous about it.
Cool. Well, so to anybody listening, if you're going to be at the SCI convention in Nashville, keep an eye out, or most of the events are already sold out. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, I don't know what to tell you, but you're just out of luck. Got to get early on all this stuff. Where else can people find you or follow you or reach out to you?
Yeah, you could find me on Instagram, Derek Wolfe _95. Twitter, it's Derek _Wolfe 95. And then my email is wolf95untamed@gmail.
And so any last parting words for my listeners, any advice or anything you think they should know?
Yeah, don't listen. If you're thinking about getting into this, do it. Try it. Just try it. There's nothing wrong with going out and trying. It's not fair. My wife has nothing against hunting. It's just not something she likes to do. She likes being in the outdoors, and we do a lot of snowboarding and skiing and stuff like that. But she's just not interested in the killing side of it. Like, she just doesn't want to do it, right? She'll eat it. Everything that I hunt, she'll eat. But she's not interested in killing it. So I get it, right? I understand that. So I have that in my own household. So I completely can understand the other side of it. But to just ignore the science of how great the conservation is for the wildlife and for the habitat is silly. I think that needs to stop. They're wasting so much time and money on this fight and battle, where we could just make these laws and make these rules, and everything can be fine and everybody can coexist. And it doesn't always have to be a war, but if they want to fight, then I'm all in for the fight. I love to fight, so let's go. But if you're ready to try to get into this, don't be afraid. Reach out to somebody that hunts, and see if they'll take you. Just be like, hey, can you take me out and just show me? Go to an archery range and have them set you up with a bow. Go to a gun range and ask them to set you up with a rifle or with a shotgun. And there's just all kinds of different ways to do it. And it doesn't always have to be the most expensive. You can go get a cheap bow. You can get a used bow. There's used Facebook Marketplace. There's people are selling their old bows every year, because every year these companies come out with a new bow. So somebody's selling their bow for a lot less than what you would pay brand new for. So they all do the same thing. If it shoots straight, it'll work. Yeah,
you can get stuck in the gear rut very easily. I mean, you can do it very inexpensive, or the sky's the limit on gear. I mean, it's kind of like electronics. So, the next best thing is out and you want to get that, but really you don't need to have all the things. If you want to get started, start with the basics, just like you just heard. Cool. Well, thank you for being on my show. And I really look forward to all that you have coming up and your outreach and helping others. And I'll keep an eye out on your YouTube, and I'll keep an eye out for a podcast too.
Yeah, it'll be up here soon, within the next month. So keep an eye out. And I appreciate you having me.
Cool. Thank you. And have a great one.
Well, I'm so happy that you made it this far in the episode, and I hope that you learned a little bit from Derek and what he's got going and the projects he's working on. Super great things that are coming up from that gentleman. Thank you for listening to the show, and if you would like to support the Mac Outdoors podcast in a greater capacity, head on over to miaanstein.com. Over there, you will find links to classes to books and to other items that can help support me and keep the show going. You can also join my membership site where you can join as a monthly or an annual member, and you will receive exclusive content over there. There is some unedited stuff that is just raw, uncut footage that I didn't have time for and wasn't able to get edited for some shows. So you will see that, as well as some exclusive video conferences that we will be hosting in the future. And so if you go over there, get signed up. It does support the show, and I really do appreciate it. Until next time, have a great one.
Hey, this is Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, host of the Armed Lutheran Radio Podcast, reminding you that the podcast you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. Check out all the great content at selfdefenseradio.net.